Hi there, welcome back to my beautiful full disclosure channel. I'm so thrilled to invite my friend, the beautiful angelic being. He denied being an angel, but in my mind, my heart, feeling his frequency, it is angelic. He's been dead more times than anyone you and I know, and he's come back three times at least to tell the tale. A man of great wisdom, a man known globally. One of the most well-known people in the world of spirituality and the science of consciousness. Maybe welcome again, Mr. Dannion Brinkley. Welcome, my love.
Hi, Danny. Thank you for having me.
Oh, so good to see you again. So we've been chatting off camera. We're going to cover some areas today, some areas of your expertise that I think you are just head and shoulders above others in the realms of wisdom, the years lived, the experiences lived and died in this body that you still inhabit. We're going to go into the different beings, 13 beings and shimmering beings that you've seen, life reviews. And the fact that you and I were discussing what I perceive as and others perceive as the Truman Show, and that I was saying that a friend is saying we're in the Truman Show. I'm like, yeah, love me, you, and everyone else. We've got to help people with their ego because I myself am well aware that I still have a lot to learn, as I believe we all do. Woo, there was a big noise outside. So over to you, my darling. Give us your thoughts.
Well, I think that you're absolutely correct in that we are in a matrix. And I think it's absolutely correct that we come here because we were chosen to come here and we chose to come here. That means you have two missions in your life. And this is unquestionably the absolute truth. Okay. You have two missions in your life. You were chosen to do something. And that means that there was nobody better than you. There is no one better to you than you to do what you're doing for the divine mission that you're here on. And then there are things that you chose to come and learn, like you were expressing earlier, Danny, to learn, to study, to expand in consciousness. And it takes this, what we think is material. We take this kind of pressure and this kind of existence, this kind of fatality to learn the greatest lessons. You know, you never become a great sea captain by sailing a calm sea. You
Mhm.
know, and so willing and knowing that all these opportunities and options are going to be created, you still stepped up to the plate and you still came. I'll do it. Put me in, coach. And this is how we get here. Okay. And there is a system called birth. And I'm a big believer that life happens at the first breath because I know absolutely that life ends here after the last breath. So it would be natural in the nature of spirituality that the first breath is life. When the divine breathes that force into your lungs, and when the divine decides it's time for you to leave, that breath goes out. Most people never stop, Danny, and think to realize they are a half a breath from leaving here. Every single day, they're a half a breath away, and you don't ever know when the bell's going to ring. So I think it's important to listen to the things that you're talking about and the ability for people to open up their minds. Are there extraterrestrial beings? There is no question there are extraterrestrial beings. And why would you say that? You know, why would anybody say that? Well, let's look at our galaxy. This galaxy that we live in right now, everybody. This galaxy has 2.3 trillion planets. It has 800 million suns, and it has that magnitude in this galaxy called the solar system that we operate in. And I was looking at NASA, and based on NASA's speculations of shooting these these four cameras in space, there is 2 trillion galaxies, the same size of ours and larger. 2 trillion galaxies with a trillion planets in them. And you're supposed to tell me I am the only one here. That's crazy. That isn't insane. That's more than crazy. That's insane. So when you come down to that place, and let me bring that insane place up, I want to thank you for being brave enough to bring the Discovery program to Charlotte on September 19th through the 21st. In the South, there is a massive stranglehold on reality based on certain religious viewpoints. And they will dictate subtly how things run and operate. So the courage of you to come and to show people and to open us up to this kind of information is a blessing. And I want everybody who's listening, if you can get there, please show up and get your tickets. And if you know someone who lives in the area where it's a short drive for them, call them and tell them about it. Interact with people, because Danny, it's important that we understand there's not only extraterrestrial, but there are dimensional realities. I have personally seen them in the course of going through being dead so many times. Struck by lightning, dead for 28 minutes, open heart surgery, brain surgery, and then a second open heart surgery, then clinically resuscitated twice or three times, coming out of open heart surgery. Then they came and told my brother and sister that I had passed. And my brother snapped a picture of it. He shows it to me often. If he gets mad about me something, he shows me that picture. But it's just two brothers, it's two brothers. I said, if you want to talk about PTSD, ask my brother and sister how many times they've had to come and tell me goodbye. And not only that, them watch me get up, which the process of what they, as my brother and sister, saw I went through to be able to get up and be here now. And there lies a whole nother realm of people's opinions about what I say and what I believe. To be able to do it and what they watch me go through in the horror of surviving against all odds becomes a place where I can stand up and support what you're doing. Mm. So the biggest thing that we have to always look at is this. This is an absolute fact. Nobody ever dies. It will never happen. That means everybody you've ever loved, or everybody who's ever loved you that you think are not here, they're somewhere, and they're probably waiting for you. Okay, a fact. Next thing, a person, if 95% of all near-death experiences, real near-death experiences, not some pretend stuff, are death experiences like mine. They floated above their body. Everybody says this. They looked at their body lying in the bed, laying across the street, wherever it was that it happened. And they're looking at their body. Well, the thing that's always amazed me, Danny, and it's always amazed me, why nobody gets the fact that if you're floating above something and you're looking at it and it's down there dead, how the hell could it be you?
Yeah.
How could it be? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how many of us have had this experience? I mean, when I was first dead, nobody was, and now everybody's been dead. Why? Because of the cultural legacy of what the near-death experience is, and what Raymond Dani and Paul Perry and some of the names who drove this into mainstream reality. We drove it there. Why? It's the truth. And why it happens, why is it happening? Because advancements in cardiopulmonary resuscitation. We know so much about the chemical and nature of the body. We can keep it alive, which bounds so many times us back here. It bounds us to come back because they are artificially controlling that. I keep looking for the conspiratorial place about that, but I think it's about greed and money. If you can't breathe on your own, then see you later. Catch you next time. Catch you for coffee somewhere. Let it go. You'll see him again. That's all ridiculous. And when you realize that you're not that body, then who are you? Who are you? Okay, because this should be the most profound and subtle conversation among religions, the near-death experience. And no matter how hard they try to write it off as not being real, like so much of the stuff of the people who are coming to the program in September, like Billy Carson. I happen to like Billy Carson a lot.
He's great. He's a great
I
man.
like him a lot. He's wonderful.
Yeah.
And so when you look at it from that point of view, there's no way around the validity and the reality of the fact that it is mainstream science that's bringing people back to tell stories that makes everything religion says, most of it not really true. Just some story someone's telling. So when you think about it from that point, you have to stop and realizing who you are. You have to see that you're an electrical being. You're an electrical being. And people say, no, I have flesh and blood and meat, and it's all chemistry. And, I go to the pharmacy and I get my script. Well, think of this. How many times a day does your heart beat? I'll tell you, from between 94,000 and 104,000. And every time it beats, it needs 0.45 milliamps of electricity. So if your body didn't spend all day producing that 0.45 milliamps of electricity so your heart will beat, where would you be then? So when you get down to reality, you take your breath and be grown up and mature, and you look at the fact of just look at your own breathing and realize how fragile you are, but yet how powerful you are in this place. Knowing those as facts, knowing those three things as a fact, your observational level, while I wanted to do your program, your observational level changes. You open up, you don't go home on Sunday and think that you're not changed. Because if half of the information you're hearing is true, then you measure that to everyday reality, Danny, and then all of a sudden you change anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I eat my food, I design my diet based on prayer, intention, and convertible to electricity. How fast can I take that stuff? And if a big meal to me, going out with friends, it's different. I mean, I have a different series of prayers or blessings. But when it's just me and to eat so that I have to keep the nutrition in my system, then it's nothing but what the body has to have. It's not what I have to have. What I have to have is the body working so I can do what I want to do. So I'd see how fast I can convert it to electricity. But here's the biggest thing as we look at this life about the near-death experience. I call it the panoramic life review. And if you want to know if somebody had a near-death experience or if somebody's professing to say they have, the first thing you do is you pay attention to how impactful what they describe as the life review is on them. And it's an observational point. And then you'll know whether they're lying to you or not, or whether they're making it up and using that to be able to move on to whatever they ever wanted, whatever they wanted to talk about. Okay. I've been a hospice volunteer for 48 years, and I've been in this for 50 years. You can't BS me. It does not happen. I got you. I can listen to you, and I can tell by the emphasis. So
Yeah.
everybody remember this, the Hall of Records and the Book of Judgment and all that stuff, that's some kind of fairy tale way of describing this. You will see your entire life pass before you in a 360-degree panorama. You will have missed nothing. You would know how many hairs was in the nose of the doctor who pulled you from your mother, and how many leaves was on the trees when you were going to the car to go home. How much you would know everything. Over the next 5 years, you limit your capacity to absorb the ethereal world and move into this mental, physical, psychological dimension. So you forget a lot of that stuff, but you have missed nothing in this life. Second, you will watch it from a second person point of view as though you were your own best friend. And it shows the laughter and the joy of the divine way, because if your best friend tells you you're a stupid idiot, they still love you and they're probably right. And if you argue with them, it'll be okay. Okay. And then they tell you that you're the smartest thing in the world, you're going to believe it and you're going to feel good about yourself, your best friend. But here's the point. you will become every person that you've ever encountered, and you will feel the direct results of your interaction between you and everybody else. You become them. And then all of a sudden you realize the action that you took had an intention, and in that tension had a directed purpose, or you wouldn't have done it. So the two things that you learn about the panoramic life review is what was the intention of the action you've taken, and what purpose were you trying to perceive to achieve. When you think like that in the actions you're taking, you hesitate a minute before you take action. And this is the part that's been the greatest lesson for me, because I had to be every person that I'd ever encountered, and I was a son of a bitch. I would beat your ass. And I didn't think anything about it. It didn't bother me. I didn't care. And you were nobody and shut up. Well, when you turn the tables on that, it becomes a changing nature, Danny. And when you know that this is the truth, I'm telling, why would I tell it? And the worst part about it, not I think the best part about it, is there'll be a place in there where you will come to yourself after you've watched your whole life and become every person. And the measurement of this life, and I'll say it for Charlotte terms, the measure for this life is, if God couldn't come today as you would define God or divinity, and God sent you in the life you just reviewed, what difference did you and God make? If you put that in the back of your life, in the back of your mind, as you look at the world, when you stand up and look around, instead of keeping your face up against the glass, everybody keeps their face up against that this physical reality is something, and they keep the face right here. Well, look at it from right here, and you're amazed at what you see. So in September, with you brave enough to come to Charlotte, I certainly will drive up there and have no problem about it. Okay. But everybody who wants to open up their mind so they can see how they're being manipulated. Who in the world, once you know you're being manipulated, and all this stuff that's come out in the mail in America, all this stuff that's come out in the news about the last 8 or 9 years, and it's factual, they have the data, we have been deceived. Okay. Well, I think there's a point in our hearts and our minds that's freaking enough of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's enough of it.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what the Space Force is. Show me a roster of command. You say we have one. You say it has officers and has civilian employees. Well, show it to me. What the frick is it? Why are we not asking that question? And we hear all these stories of interactions and extraterrestrials and astronauts talking about it, but we're not asking those questions. Look at freaking child trafficking, Danny.
Mm-hmm.
Worldwide child trafficking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think if people understand this, what the near-death experience teaches, nobody's going to get away. All those rapers and muggers and destroyers and greedy and all that stuff, they're going to be everybody that they'd ever encountered. And they're going to feel the direct results of that interaction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if I came across a pedophilia or something like that, I don't think that I could hold myself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that I am capable. So as hard as I fight for trafficked children, I mean, it's a big thing with me, because I know they have a mission here and they have a job, and that kind of action destroys their soul connective consciousness to achieve that job. And I think I have to fight and stand up for it, although they would have somehow contracted to the probable possibility of this happening to them when they were coming here.
Mm. It's there's such an extraordinary amount of really important and relevant issues and subjects and happenings that you mentioned there. And one of the reasons why I created Galactic Spiritual Informers is to cover all of the aspects of the galactic of Space Force, because again, in between the lies that we've been told by the controllers, the cabal, the Illuminati, the shitheads at the top that I have zero respect for, we got to have courage. I have that courage to say to any leader anywhere, I don't care who you are. I know who you be by your actions. I'm not impressed by your celebrity. Kiss my ass and watch it walk away. Or as you would say, go away with your BAs. And I love how
Yeah.
many syllables you pronounce when you say BS. BAs. It's a lot, Dannion Brinkley. Yes, I'm
Well,
like,
it's
so
me.
proud.
But I'm Southern, and people, this accent, I am Southern, and I would not change a word of it
Oh,
because
I
I always
love
look
it.
how people look at people who are Southern, and they
Oh,
look at them like, that we're a little hillbilly rednecks, and yes, I am, but the fact that it's so disarming, I can disarm a person with this voice, and it's just the whole structural decisions that they make, and to know that you're strong and brave. You're coming to Charlotte with a program about truth and reality in a world that will not let you get past a certain place. The world is 6,000 years old. You know, nobody could possibly believe that that is true today.
mhm.
Nobody can possibly believe that. And yet you come down to North Carolina and everybody believes that except those people who are searching for the truth. So, like I'll say this one more time, Danny. If you are anywhere near people, everybody, and if you know somebody that's close, don't miss this program. I think it'll be informative and entertaining because I know I will be entertaining.
Definitely, yeah. And again, the people, Kathy O'Brien, the survivor of the White House and the Pentagon, pedophilic abuse. They trained her to be a what they call a presidential model, MK Ultra torture. She names the names: Clinton, Bush, Reagan, the horrific things that have happened to this woman as a little girl to a woman peddled by the CIA because her dad was making pornographic films on her and her brothers and sisters as little kids. This is the pedophilic train that runs all the way through government to the highest levels and beyond, and to other global leaders. And Kathy O'Brien will be standing and sharing the names and speaking on it. Now, she's long term come out the other end. She's the most beautiful, beloved, benevolent. She knows how to survive. She's done it. I always feel sorry that she has to go back in because I'm asking her, I need you to present on this because there are so many people in 2025 that have no concept. They don't know the names. We need to bring the names. And there are people like her and people like you who are so far ahead, light years ahead, and the experiences you had 30 years ago plus right now. For some people, it's like an aha moment. It's like a literal epiphany. Those that haven't heard of Dannion Brinkley, you know what I mean? And like you said, you and others, you lambasted near-death experience information, science of consciousness into the mainstream. And it's like me, since we brought in my last two conferences, literal spacecraft, identified spacecraft, proving that the good Earth military, the White Hats, the Earth Alliance, are working hand in hand with the good extraterrestrials. And that military faction is called the Galactic Federation of Worlds. It's not some mumbo jumbo bollocks out there. It's not woohoo land, it's reality. They look like me and you. Put me and you in a light blue uniform with a little bit of gold edging, and we'll look like army soldiers or military personnel from the Galactic Federation of Worlds. And I've proven more than once they work hand in hand. I'm also proving there's a dark faction in the Earth military, the dark ones that try and stop it all. They've also been trafficking children, trafficking human slaves, trafficking arms and drugs in pretend UFOs. That's like, hoo, look, there's a UFO. Is it though? Or is it soldiers in the military trafficking what I've just described? And that's also what we're proving because no one gets away with it anymore, Dannion. Not on my watch and not on your watch. We speak
Oh,
to
I
it,
agree.
yeah, we land it. But what we do at my conferences is we bring the proof. We don't bring the people with a little bit of a story. In England, there was a show when I was growing up. It was called Jack Jackanory. And Jack Jackanory was really a person sitting in an old armchair reading a storybook. And it was beautiful. And so it was just called Jackanory. And that is what, we don't bring people just with a story or who say, I had a hypnotic experience. Great, wonderful. And from my hypnosis, I now remember all of this information. It's like you were saying, you know, when somebody is BAing about their near-death experience by their tone, their frequency, their delivery,
Mhm.
their detail, and you probably don't even need to listen to an eighth of the story. You can feel it because you've experienced it. And understand,
And
yeah, with the
anybody
angelic,
that has to truly face themselves, anybody,
yeah.
Danny, that has to truly face themselves, and let me tell everybody, you will face you. And there is no harsher judge about you than you, but you will face you. And there's no way around it. The universe is fair and just. The systems, no one escapes. It's all about the intention. My intention of being on this show when I was doing my affirmation, my intention of being on this show is to open up minds and hearts. Because if I can open up your heart with with my story, then your mind opens up to the possibility of your own personal greatness. And people have to see that they're great. That people, you are the, I mean, you even the worst one of us is the best there is. You can only fail yourself. I mean, and very few people ever fail their spiritual reality of what they were sent here to do. They
Mm.
don't fail. Maybe I don't even know. I don't think anybody does, but maybe not 100%. But I like to go back to thinking about where a person is today, where the world is when this airs today. We're at world war. We're watching genocide on live television.
Yes.
We're watching information come out that the last administration in America was child trafficking. They were flying children in from 3 months old to 12 years old on airplanes given to Department of Homeland Security. Department of Homeland Security passed them off to Department of Health and Human Services, and Health and Human Services privately contracted them to deliver those children places. We're talking 30,000, over 30,000. Well, when you start to realize, as I, as a 75-year-old American, that that is happening, that's a freaking nut. That's it. I don't trust any of that. And I'd better gather the knowledge to help me understand who I am, not what the world is doing, but who I am. Well, I've been through 3 panoramic life reviews. Okay. And the worst part about a panoramic life review is it doesn't pick up where the last one left off. you know,
Oh.
it doesn't, it just one experience. It is just in the system. Okay. You got to face yourself. It's in the system. And you have to look at it and you have to see what you were thinking and all feel those feelings. And I was brutal. Okay. But I've also had the pleasure of looking down at I have my 2018th hospice person, Mark.
Mm.
This is my 2018th. And knowing as I look down at that person, as I look down at that person and they're looking up at me and they're veterans and they have nobody, that feeling is what drives me to be a hospice volunteer. Okay, because right there at that moment, when you have a panoramic life review and you are caring and loving and supportive, and that person knows that, they know there's no agenda. Okay, and that takes so much pressure off of them. And I created the Twilight Brigade, which became one of the largest end of life care programs for passing veterans in American history.
Mm.
Why? Because I saw the need, and veterans have issues. So when you have go through that and you don't talk about it, then don't believe what they're, I mean, I don't care what else they say. I go from I mean, I tell people the truth. I'm not going to tell people some old bullshit. I'm just not going to do it. I'm here. If I'm going to be every person I ever encountered and I'm going to feel the direct results of my interaction between me and some lie I'm telling you, give me a break. I don't know who you are or why you would even possibly think that. Okay. but it would make you crazy to think that I am. This is how it works. And I've been around this for 50 years. I have 50 years of studying death, and I am quite knowledgeable about it and how the process works because I have been through 2,017 people and 358 taking their last breath. Don't try to tell me. Don't try it. I get it. But the things how I understand so much about nature, Danny, is watching people in transition and listen to how they talk and what they talk about and what mattered to them through their life, what mattered.
Mm.
Okay. And by being able to do that with not dozens, not hundreds, but thousands
Yeah.
of people,
Incredible.
I get it. Okay.
Wow.
So the fact that you come to bring the truth to Charlotte and to bring that truth and to give people a chance to face themselves and to look at it and see where we build. If you come, we come in a group and you see where we build, how we can build outward to stop this stuff or create that place that they're going to face it and to stop it. I think about this all the time about little children. It drives me freaking crazy to know that we are systematically using the world's currency as children.
Mm-hmm.
And when you listen to Kathy, I've been on programs with Kathy. I've said in her presentations, because watching and understanding. And I worked in Washington. I spent 12 years there. So a lot of the stuff she says, I actually know to be factual. I know it to be
Mm-hmm.
not second-handed or third-handed.
Yes, important.
First-hand.
Mm-hmm.
First-hand. I went through Bush 1, Reagan, Bush 2. Okay. I am a good old boy from South Carolina, so I understand the whole Clinton world, how all that works and operates. I understand it. Uh, I I know Donald Trump. I know Donald Trump. I remember Joe Biden because there was Strom Thurmond, who was the most powerful voice in the Armed Services Committee, and he was a senator from South Carolina. Then there was Joe Biden. This is the early 80s. Then there was Joe Biden, and then there was John McCain. And I saw them every day. I saw those people every day. So Joe Biden cannot even begin to tell me who he thinks he is. He can't tell me. I was there. I was there. So he can't tell me. So knowing that we have to all face this, why? So we can do something to frick about it. If you're not going to face it and we're going to keep hiding, whatever we've been hiding from, Danny, is taking us to World War.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas. On Christmas, the last 3 years, people have been killing women and children on both sides in the Holy Land. Mm-hmm. You can't have Christmas in Bethlehem. You can't do it. Have everybody gone freaking crazy? And when you can let the Holy Land represent to see where the world is, right there where the major religions gather, Christianity, Judaism, where all these things come into play, then that is a microcosm of everybody. We're failing because we're not looking at it. Mm. And if you look at the Holy Land today, and you look at murder in 2025, wholesale slaughter and bombing of little towns of people who just want to make a living and live in their family and be happy and and run their little garden and do the kind of things that keeps them connected to the earth, keeps their heart open, and puts their mind into the cosmic realm. the galactic realm of reality and responsibility. I mean, I've done it, and I can't say everything about it's been perfect, but the best part about it is that I don't have any problems facing me.
Mhm, mhm. God, you've raised 10 like of the biggest subjects and issues that humanity faces, and impossible to, tackle them all at this moment. But thank you for saying what you said. Now, anyone that says, and we'll just spend a minute on this if it's okay with you, because at the moment, people have got, they're full of love and they're full of hope, and then there's a little bit of shit for brains going on, and they're believing everything they're reading and hearing, and they've lost themselves, they've forgotten who they are. So they're deciding to be confused and pull away, let's say from a conference like mine. They're so confused by all the different narratives, and they're so confused by all the attacks on really good people, like that are speaking, for example. And they're so confused as to why would I bring the beautiful Billy Carson in to speak alongside Elena Dannion? Because what we recognized was, let's say in the galactic conversation and the military conversation, there were people that were deciding on who's going to be who in that zoo. And the minute people started breaking and kicking in doors like me, people are like, no, 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 you can't have a voice here, Dani Henderson. No, you cannot have a voice here. And I'm like, sorry, but you're making shit up and I'm not. I'm a first-hand contactee. Like you can't tell me who you are. I see who you are. I know the reality and I'm going to bring it. And so people are then coming in, trusted voices that we trusted have gone the other way. They're like, no, 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 hold on. Even though we proved this, we have to make sure it's correct. For whatever reason, in whatever element of their career, now people are going, oh, but we've always followed this person, so let's keep going. And away they've gone. And it's caused confusion and upset. And I'm striving on, and I brought on someone like you and someone like Billy and Kathy O'Brien and Max Lowen, who experienced being trafficked in the Vatican. We are going all the way there. And so I decided and said to my beautiful Elena Dannion, my love, you and I spent too much time in this little tiny corner with all these people trying to have a galactic conversation, which we're very much part of. We need to go up and expand out like this and have the whole review, like you said. We were like this. So now we have to be all the way back, really looking at where the manipulations are, who is who in the zoo, and owning and honoring the fact that we've been part of a mass manipulation, the destruction of the heart of humanity itself, herself, themselves. It's incredible. You mentioned also about the devastation of, let's say, our beautiful Palestinian brothers and sisters. I can't even believe there's a conversation around who's killing Israelis and who's killing Palestinians. They're my brothers and my sisters. There's no side. There's genocide happening. And they're owners of the planet. They own all of it. And I can't believe that people don't seem to have intelligence and they're making distinctions between these babies being murdered and people being murdered. And they're, oh, well, do you agree with, October 6th when the people flew in and killed all the people? I'm like, oh my God, what's happened to people? Where has their own point of reference to self and reality gone? Well, what do you think about that?
I think it's absolutely true. There's no problem with me. There is no way the Israelis did not know that that was going to happen. There's no way. I mean, there's no way. It is not possible. It's not possible. End of story. No way. Paragliding planes, where did they get them? Okay, there's no way. But when you're talking about, uh, I understand the Palestinian Israeli issue and what a religion is driving over a little small piece of desert. But when I listen to the Doctors Beyond Borders, and they're all a bunch of liberals. I mean, I hate to say it like that, and I don't mind liberals. Okay, I think I love them, but when they say they see children and women shot at point blank range, uh-uh. And then they had a colonel who was attached to the UN. He and his team were guarding a UN food distribution center, which there's only like 4 of them. And there were 6 or 7, and now there's down to 4, and they're all in war zones. And when I hear an American lieutenant colonel tell me what he saw and I listened to it on a show, and tell me what he saw, I cannot believe that the president of the United States or the the head of England or all Germany and France, all the major Russia, all the major world powers are not up in arms. Because when this comes out, when finally one reporter, the closest thing that we have gotten, Danny, to a on the ground reporter is this lieutenant colonel who spent there guarding it, and his stories. They are devastating to what the IDF is doing. They are devastating. And of all the people who were captured as hostages that are still there at the end of 2 years, that's a complete failure of the world. Not only Israel, but that's a complete failure of the world. They are like innocent children. They were coming to a little hippie festival. I
Yeah.
mean, my God, please. I mean, how much harm could one of those people be? Okay, and then how many Israelis were killed by friendly fire? When you look at it, I understand war, Danny. I understand it. Life has taken me into places where those kind of events were happening. And I understand it. So when I hear a story or you tell me the news and I look at the information, I don't buy it. That's why I brought up genocide. But it's the same thing that's happening in the Ukraine. It's the same thing that's happening. I mean, what is the meaning of these wars? What is the meaning of these wars? Is it about land or access? Well, anybody who looks that knows historic Jerusalem, and I don't like to get into this stuff, but you know, we're there. You would look at the economic power. How does what's going on affect the economic power of Israel? Because the people who are there have been there forever. They have never not been there. And most of them have never been more than 20 miles from the place they were in, Palestine, which doesn't even exist. It's a story. There's no such thing as Palestine. There's never been any such thing as Palestine. Never. It's Canaanite, Samaria, and Judea. That's what it's always been. People say, well, Jordan, the country of Jordan is so old and they've been around forever. Jordan was invented in 1948. There was no such thing as Jordan until 1948, and it comes under the United Nations, what was called the Balfour Agreement. And the Balfour Agreement at the end of World War II, at the destruction and the final days of the Ottoman Empire. Do you even care about this stuff, Dan?
Oh God, yeah.
Well, I mean, I know about a lot of stuff other than being dead. you know,
Oh,
I know
I
everything about it.
know, but your insight, your military information is crucial. The history part of you, what you've known, what you've studied, you've been on the inside. You've been on the actual inside, like Kathy O'Brien. Why else do you think you're speaking at a Gsic, my love? Because we need you. The world needs you and your truth. So please share.
So when you look at it, and we'll get to the things like you were talking about the 13 beings. When when I wrote this book, Saved by the Light, when I wrote this book in 1993, I put it in a section I call the boxes of knowledge. And it was what the beings of the 13 beings each showed me a probable possibility of the future. And it was all based on this. This is after Vietnam, it's 1975. If you keep doing the same things that you've been doing, which is what we've done since Korea, World War II to then, these are the probable possibilities of the future. So in box 4, I describe exactly where Israel is today. I mean, think of this. The visions reveal that Israel was being very spiritually shallow, had a sense of the country of strong government but weak morals, and images of Israelis reacted with hatred toward Palestinians. And I was steeped at how, in the sense that the people as a nation had forgotten God and would be driven by racial hatred, and that the Arab world and the rest of the world will turn on them. That's what's happening today. I wrote that down in 1977 when I could finally write and not pass out. And it took me 2 years to learn to walk and feed myself. But this vision stayed there. They never went anywhere. And I had to deal with getting up from being paralyzed and falling and passing out and, oh God, to at the same time deal with the fact that I'd had a near death experience, and there was no name in 1975. No one had ever heard of the near death experience. Raymond didn't write Life After Life until 1995. I mean 1975, and he put it out. And the only sanity, I always thank Raymond Moody, because if he hadn't come along, I would have gone crazy. You couldn't deal with the physical damage that I went through, being struck by lightning, and deal with the cosmology of who we are as spiritual beings. Okay. And to look at that and to deal with it. And Raymond asked the right questions. It wasn't that it was all of it. He asked the right questions, and you could tell he was searching for the truth in it. And there were three, me, Andy, and Vi Horton. There was three of us that lived really close together. Raymond was it was 12 miles to Raymond's house. I could leave my house and drive to Raymond's, and it was 12 miles. And so in those early years of this, I was with Raymond for 20 years. I mean, for 20 years, I was with Raymond. And so I lived in this whole experience. It's not, I watched it all unfold, and I pushed it hard, because if people didn't come based on these boxes of knowledge, which I described the pandemic in ultimate detail. This was in 1977. The probable possibilities of the future, here they are. So when I went to publish this book, Paul, my co-author, which is, I love to write books with Paul, because Paul is the same age as me. He's the complete opposite of me, 100%. I mean, 100%. And so when I was talking to Paul about how we would group these events, okay, and the publisher, HarperCollins, said they didn't want to publish the book unless we took the boxes of knowledge out. And I told him, I said, well, Paul, then I don't care. Give them back their money. I don't care. I said, because of this reason. Of the 117 things, there are 7 left. But I said, listen, if all of this stuff comes true, it means there's a life after death, because this came when I was dead. And this came 50 years ago. 50 years ago. Not a couple of weeks ago. I put it in a book 30 years ago.
Yeah.
30 years ago.
Incredible.
Okay. So I told him, I said, okay. I said, if this stuff comes true, it means there's a life after death. If it doesn't, then I was hallucinating. And I owe the world an apology, because I'm honest, and Paul could see the integrity in what I was saying, and I didn't have to be nice. I mean, some things in the book I had to change where it happened so that I didn't expose whole worlds of nonsense. But when you look today, I'd say it's about 96%. You're talking about over 100 events, 96%. Some of it I couldn't find, but when I said, this is where I come to now. When you look at the boxes of knowledge and you pay attention to the structure of where we're going, and I described that we would be at World War, and it would come, and I described the situations of where it would be occurring and why. And then I described the pandemic as a system of control. It was planned. And then from me being able to see stuff happen, I can go back and search the history, because I already had it in this boxes of knowledge. So when you realize that the COVID business was patented in 2005, and then you look at the co-patent owners.
Yeah. Name the genociders, Dannion.
No, I won't do that.
Okay.
And why? And this is why, Danny.
Okay.
Because if people care enough, they'll go and look themselves. I cared enough based on that I have this guideline to watch the world by. I have this guideline to watch what's going on because we're going to keep doing the same thing we've always done. But see, the thing that I know that most people, unless you're a Mayan, don't know is we're moving into a new age. The world I was born in has disappeared. It looks the same, but it's not. And when you have to pay $3 for a bag of M&Ms, the world is finished.
Oh wow.
Okay, so when I look at all this, it's exciting to be alive, and it's exciting that I fought hard to be here now and to stay here so that I could fulfill a vision. And just 3 hours and 20 minutes from Charlotte, I'm creating the final vision. It's what I wrote about in the book. I'm creating it now. Here is the last run because the boxes only go to 2030.
Uh-huh.
It only goes to like 2030 and that's an estimated timeline by me watching how each of this thing is structured itself.
Yeah.
But when you take a good look at the probable possibilities of where we are, and to see that we've kept doing the same thing. And now they say like this pandemic has killed more than 20 million people. 20 million people. Somebody has to be responsible for that. And how do you make them responsible when it's a whole system? How do you make it that way? Okay. It's hearts and minds and knowing the old is passing away. What the Mayas say, December 21st, 2012, everybody, the only people who thought the world was going to come to an end was white people. Nobody else thought it because the Mayans count down. Our calendar goes into the future. The Mayans calendar counts backwards. It goes down. Every day is one day closer to a shift, 25,920 years. Ready for that, that standard 26,000 years. It's 25,920 years. The Mayans keep it to the second. And so they said all things done not in integrity would collapse. And we're watching it happen.
Mm.
And this is what they said about the new world, the new order. There will be no secrets. And look at what's happening. Look at AI, look at networking, look at the consolidation of information, look at the access, look at what everybody, there is no secret. So all this stuff they're trying to hide, it's it can never happen again. What I'm watching in America is we've watched a coup. We watched a coup and who was behind it. And they're naming the names of the people who were behind it, and they're presenting the paperwork that they were crazy enough to produce
Yeah.
and didn't because they didn't think they were going to lose to destroy.
Yes, and that's the
So
arrogance, right? You can name the kind of the seven prides or whatever, sloth and greed and envy, blah blah blah, right? So a guideline, whatever. But the arrogance in the dismissal of the beautiful human being, the psychic, the spiritual, the aware, the loving, the benevolent, the true essence of the being before it's corrupted.
connected and the connected.
Yeah,
We've already proven what
you
we've
ain't condemning
already
that.
it's already proven, Danny, that we have a sub frequency that connects us to everybody else. Every one of us are connected. And they're about to be able to measure the sub frequency at which it does.
Mhm.
Well, then you watch what 5 and 6G are capable of doing.
Mm.
See, I see it.
Mhm.
It doesn't bother me. And yes, is some of it horrible? Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is some of it so outstanding. When you can kill cancer with light, this was just discovered about a month ago. They have 99% accuracy in bombing, 99% accuracy in bombarding with a certain light frequency into a cancer cell and it killing it.
Well,
There's no surgery.
we had this. We had all this years ago with Royal Rife, and he was murdered for his beautiful, again, the frequency into the discordant cell. I mean, again, all the things coming out right now, and nothing's holding back. No one's holding back. Only the fearful, trying to do deals on the side, maybe trying to get a little. And what's funny is, it's like, it's for me, it's the same as laying out the radical Islam view on the radical Islamists truly believe that there will be a host of virgins. I mean, what woman in her right mind is going to be waiting for some nut job to kill a ton of people and come upstairs? I mean, it's just insane. But this insanity is all rolling out. But you know what else? And I've only just seen people start talking about it in England. Is that I believe at the top of the leadership in England, they've already converted to Islam. But it's also a trick because even if the whole country, and they're trying to take over Great Britain, it's happening from the royal family bowing down to allowing extreme Muslims standing on some of the ancient bridges. I don't care about them or the history or whatever. I know what I'm looking at. You know what we're looking at. It's the program of the New World Order trying to carry itself out. But one of the single biggest things that's happening is that the negative factions, they truly believe they're on the path to it happening and that agreements are going to be honored. They're not going to be honored. The promises that people made or the deals people made with Satan, let's say, he is not going to honor them. And I'm sitting back and I'm watching it all, as I know you are too. And it's incredible. And so let's say there's a bloke over here. He was in charge of Crown child prosecution, child protective services, right? He's got a funny name, Keir Starmer. He was in charge of taking care of our babies and our children and keeping the families together. As you know, foster services globally has been infiltrated and has become a means of trafficking. We know that. We're not in denial. That Muppet lost so many children and families, he got rewarded by becoming the Prime Minister of Great Britain. And again, when people just wake up and drop the delusion to follow somebody in authority, why was that inept, pathetic little being given the rulership of England, right? And why is he letting radical religious people infiltrate everywhere? Because they've all done it together, but they're all collapsing together. But now, like you said, there are no secrets. Now we see it all. We're seeing it all, aren't we?
Absolutely. This is the whole point. And people have to step up to the plate.
Mhm.
In order, if a new world, if an era has ended, the era has ended and a new era is beginning, and that's what we're witnessing, then we can't hold on to yesterday. Everybody's trying to hold on to yesterday. We can't do it. We have to move forward. I always knew that the near death experience was going to play an important role as I watched Hospice. If God couldn't come today and God sent me in the life you just reviewed, what difference did you and God make? I got up after 2 years and became a hospice volunteer. I've been a hospice volunteer 48 years because I know about combat and I know about veterans, and I went to die with veterans. Okay, that's what I did for now 48 years because that's where I knew I could make the greatest difference. And it evolved into the Twilight Brigade and now the Brinkley Center. It all has evolved into 50 years of not ever giving up and making this happen. But I watch this from a historical point of view, and I can do my homework. I mean, I've always had these boxes of knowledge. I've always had them, and the pandemic became the pivot point of where I would know that the world. I've always said that the battle for the souls of humankind would be fought in healthcare. And I've said that for 50 years. And I've been in healthcare and palliative and end of life care for 48 of those 50 years. So I put myself where my mouth is. This is what I do. And I've been with thousands of people as they were leaving this world or preparing to leave this world. So I can draw from that vastness to look at reality and to see the truth in it. And now this system is collapsing and trust is changing so fast who you trust. And like, I never could understand Stammer. I never could figure out what he was doing. It was easy to figure out what Blair was doing. I mean, he was easy. It's easy to figure out what Macron's doing. That's all easy. That's not difficult at all. But who this Stammer guy is, I can't. Now that you told me, I see how all that works. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the 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 crown. When you look at Great Britain and you look at London, which is not a part of Great Britain, London proper is the city of London, is not Great Britain. I mean, it's the same as Washington, D.C. here or the Vatican. Then what happens there? That is, London drives the economic power. It's where you buy and trade oil. I mean, that's, if you understand big business, everything moves to the banks. And I know America is loaning it every night when the banks close here. They loaned $1 trillion to Great Britain so it can open its banks every day.
Mm.
So when people don't realize that, that's still what's happening. And they're paying like 20 or 30% to borrow that money overnight so they can appear solvent, but it's just a loan, asset gold backed financial instruments. But I think that where we are is where we deserve to be because we've followed, like you said, we followed the roadmap they gave us. And in following the roadmap that they gave us, we are going like layman's, we're going off the cliff and we have to pull back from that. So once again, I am so proud that you were brave enough to come to Charlotte. I'm just proud because it's steps. I mean, you're coming into the bastion of delusionment, and Charlotte is a powerful place economically,
Mm.
because of Bank of America. But to come there, and we'll have to get with Mel and push as hard as we can. But to come there only shows being brave. And if a couple of UFOs show up, then always it's intentional that we ask them to come up. But I'm an old NASCAR guy. So if they would come, would they please let me drive it around the moon? Let me just take it for a spin around the moon and back. Show me where the gas pedal is and tell me how many miles per gallon it gets and how to drive it and let me drive it around the moon.
Right, right. Well, they run on liquid mercury, red liquid mercury, most of them. And there are some actually stationed, some real extraterrestrial craft, not reverse engineered anti-gravity military craft, but they're at Eglin Airport Base. Eglin, Eglin, Eglin. That's where they've been confirmed to be held. Gosh, someone's always trying to get in here. So, yeah, no, it's amazing, and everything you say is just so fascinating. And there were 10,000 other things I was going to ask you, but we could just sit and talk forever because there's just so much. And I love that, our worlds have come together. And I love that I was like this big fan of Dannion Brinkley forever, all these years. And I still cannot believe that you're coming to a Gsic. I can't believe it. And, the last few Gsics, Galactic Spiritual Informers Connection, I had the first two in Orlando. Orlando to me, energetically, was such a dark, dark place. And the day we had it, I was living in Sarasota, and I remember literally getting in a car early and going to my conference in Orlando early because a hurricane came, and Fort Worth was flood, not Fort Worth, Fort Myers was underwater, and it chased me. It was like the storm chased me, and all of the Orlando newscasting programs, they used one photograph that whole weekend that there was this flood, and it was right next door to the hotel I chose, which was the DoubleTree opposite Universal Studios, where a lot of child trafficking has come. Me and my friend Elena Danan, we went into Universal, the park, for the day, put up lots of protection, but went in there. And we both, at the same second, we were walking up the little hill towards the beautiful fairy castle. and we both stopped. And it was like we both got whacked with an energy stick. We both went, "Oh my God." And I went, "Oh my God, do you feel that?" She went, "Oh, do you feel that?" And we're like looking down, and I hadn't even heard rumors. But then we looked into these places are used for rituals, for sacrifices. It's all bloody true. It's all true. And anyway, the people coming forward, the Kathy O'Briens, the people with real proof, and like you say, now I think humanity, we're so much more confident. A lot of us are so much more confident. We're so owning who we are. We're so owning our true experiences that it is so easy for us to look at another brother or sister and see, feel, and sense. Are they really here? Did they really do that? Is there an agenda? Is there a guru cap attached to them that's instructing, or are they free? Are they resonating in that love frequency that we've all come here to connect to? That is the neural network. That's what connects us all together, isn't it? That's
I
the
agree.
freedom. Yeah.
That's the frequency that when they measure that frequency, they'll be able to measure the nature of how the heart operates. The science tells us that the heart is a muscle. Well, that's stupid. The heart's not big enough. The heart is not big enough to pump all that blood throughout the body. And when you look at it from knowing what my heart is, what the lightning, how the lightning did my heart, I can look at it from a different point of view about what the body is, and it's a magnificent miracle. Okay, and it depends on me, and I depend on it. Okay, but when you stop long enough to look at it, because I've been outside it so many times, I know it's not me. It's like my favorite coat, but it's not me.
Yeah.
When I had the when I had the I had went through this thing of trying to figure out at what point do we recognize ourselves as physical beings. So when I had to be clinically resuscitated, Danny, 2 times, 5 days after I had open heart surgery, dead, resuscitated. Then 5 days after that, I went into cardiac arrest and they had to resuscitate me. I was standing beside the bed looking at who was working on me. Okay. And this happened twice in 30 minutes. They had to resuscitate me twice in 30 minutes. Okay. So I was looking at them working on me. But I would come out, when I came out really, really fast. But when I went back in, it was like I was putting on layers. And there were 7 layers that each of those, before I took a breath back on this side of the world, I was going in slow so I could see it doing it, and it's not more sensing as it is seeing, but I could sense it doing it. So when I went into cardiac arrest the second time, all right, I'm studying it. I'm so used to die, it doesn't mean anything to me, but I'm studying the process. Why I come out so fast, and going back in, I could see that they were colors. They were like silken or see-through things and when I woke up, I was back this,
Uh,
as opposed to when I was standing there. And they documented this. I knew who was pounding on my chest. I knew who, and then I knew when that one wore out, another one came, and then there was a guy standing behind them. This was the second time. The guy, he said, "Should I do it? Should I do it? Should I do it?" And I couldn't figure out what this guy was doing because I couldn't see him for the person pounding on my chest. And they stepped back and said yes, and they had put these pads on me, and the guy reached up and hit the switch.
God.
Bam! I'm
Mm.
watching this. And then bam, the second time, and then I was back.
Wow.
But I could describe every person who was in that room. I could describe every person that was in that room, who they were, and what they were doing, because I would see them every day because I was in intensive care. They never thought I would live more than 5 months. When I got home, the entire hospice apparatus was set up, long-term oxygen, all the little bags, the little things that you hold the bags on to do IVs, all that stuff was in the house because they sent me home to leave. So when we look at where we are, I see everybody as being brave. courageous. And we just have to take these blinders off that we cannot trust what people tell us. We can only trust what we feel about what they say. What do you feel about it? I'm only trying to empower people to look at reality, because the reality that we're looking at now is killing children. Okay, so whatever you think is right, or whatever you think is the reason why when you shoot children, or you smuggle and rape children, that is, I cannot deal with it, Danny. I have to talk about it every show. They want me to talk about death and dying. I did Will Kane. I did Fox News the other day. And I said, Will said, well, what do you think? I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'm so thankful for the Panoramic Life Review, because all of these pedophiles are going to become that little scared child. They're going to go through it. And I'll guarantee you, they'll never do it again. It'll never happen again wherever they go next, because when you understand you're going to be everybody that you've ever encountered and feel the direct results, there are people who've never heard of Jesus Christ that's in some jungle in Patagonia with a tribe of people that there's no way he's not going to heaven with what they do to hold their little world together and to keep it together. And when you say that people who don't accept Jesus Christ are going to hell, that's all insane. I'm
It's
sorry.
evil. It's absolute evil. And shame on those people, all of them, to their faces, Dannion. Shame on every pope, vicar, cardinal, female, male that ever condemned a child, an unborn child, and buried newborn dead children in the west or the east of the graveyard because they weren't baptized yet. It is absolute evil. And it has permeated and dominated our world for just generations and generations and generations. And now, like you say, we call it out, we stand up to it, we say no more, and we just move it aside and we carry on and we just unite, everyone with the loving beings that we are. Of course, there's work to be done. It doesn't happen overnight, but my
It's
God, it's
exciting.
happening so much
It's
quicker.
exciting. It's exciting. We got the job.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, what would we be? We'd just be a bunch of unemployed dragon slayers if everything wasn't like that. And
Yeah.
then why would they say, when you say, well, I don't know what I'm doing here. I know why you're here. You're the difference that the divine makes. Now, either you will do it or you won't, but you are the difference that the divine will make. And I try to do it. Well, when people say, well, what religion are you? I said, well, I've been a bunch of religions. I said, but my true religion is hospice. And why? Where the two or more gather in my name, so shall I be among you. Well, I have witnessed it. I have witnessed and been in the presence of the divine presence at hospice. Why it's so important to me is because I have a nature of communion that comes with a person in transition that allows me to move from this, what we think is a physical world, into that level of consciousness again. And I won't say that I don't miss the heavens, but I gladly will sit at the bedside so that I could feel the divinity as it surrounds that person, whether they see it or not. I do.
Amazing. It's amazing. I could sit another 10 hours and talk to you. You're such a beautiful being and you bring so much wisdom. And again, your dedication to being with the dying, in their perception, they're dying, they're moving to their next adventure, but that you hold that space. And a friend of mine called me the other day, or emailed me. She has stage 3 and 4 kidney failure. And she said, Dannion called me. And I'm like, wouldn't be surprised if you were friends. Anyway, I'll tell you her name offline when we start recording. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so typical that Daniel Brinkley would be calling someone to give them comfort on the phone, let alone the people like Mark that you've been withholding physically and being with. And this is the work of angels. This is the selfless giving service to love, to make sure that people aren't frightened. I mean, it's just
But if
incredible.
somebody cares, that who do you talk to? They can't. Everybody's scared to death of death. Well, I'm not scared of it all. I don't. That's all stupid. And my point is this: we have to get past that, because let me tell you what's going to happen as we close this, Danny. Caregiving. All those people who got vaccinated, okay, a billion. all those people, as it's structured, everybody's going to become a caregiver. And it's going to become caregivers like in America. Usually about 2.2 million people pass every year. Now it's like 4.4 million. It's doubled. And I hadn't seen what 2023 is. I mean, 2024 was, okay, and what 2025 is, but I'll bet you it'll be 5 million. It'll be from children to people in my age group. See, what people don't realize is baby boomers, born between 1940 and 1967, we were the largest expansion of human births in the history of the world. More of us were born, okay, in that time frame than ever. Well, look at where we are. We're in our 70s and 60s, 70s, and 80s. And that group just above me is in their 90s. So our natural progression is here. We're leaving. Okay. If you look at it from a political and economic point of view, the largest transfer of wealth in history, $10 trillion, is being shifted because people are leaving. So when you take a good look at that and you look at, you have lived long enough to have great grandchildren and some great great grandchildren, then you have a mom, a dad, a brother, a sister, aunts and uncles, and kids dropping dead on a football field or a soccer field because of that crisis. When you look at that, people need caregiving skills. They have to be brave enough and man up enough and human enough to understand it's not about them. It's about that person that's in transition. And it's about them, and how to take care of yourself as you're a caregiver becomes the second most important component. And that's the world I live in. I understand how the world operates, but I choose to fight for the battle for the souls of humankind. I choose to fight right here so that the independent nature of what the near-death experience represents and symbolizes makes all those control mechanisms that's being used on us and for us to be manipulated don't hold water when it comes down to making choices. Because when you look at what the depopulation era is about, and you look at all the information that's coming out about it, they've been planning this for, I mean, probably if you look at Albert Pike, since 1873. They've worked this plan since 1871, and now I look at it from an American point of view. 1873, with Albert Pike and he was a big Mason describing what the future and the history of what their plans were, and it's exactly what's happening now.
Mhm. Mhm.
I
Yeah.
don't ever get to talk about this kind of stuff, Danny, anywhere. I always
Ah,
have to talk about being dead all the time.
well, like I said, we know there's just so much to you, and I love to bring all the layers of my beautiful guests and friends that come. So obviously, we'll have to come back and explore more of the history and how people fill in. There's another woman, Roseanne Barr. Do you know Roseanne Barr?
I know who she is. I've never met her.
Well, that woman is a shocking surprise in how absolutely brilliant her mind is, and she gets overlooked for who she was, and she was obviously vilified in Hollywood. She's Kathy O'Brien's best friend, so that just tells you if that's Kathy O'Brien's best friend, then there is a heart and a soul in Roseanne Barr that reverberates
Oh,
with Kathy
please.
O'Brien.
I have nothing but appreciate her. I know her as a comic,
Yeah, yeah,
but as a comic, comics are brilliant, and to
brilliant.
come up with, yeah, I mean, every comic has a tortured past. You can see it as it comes out in their jokes.
Yeah. Well, she's Jewish, she's a Jew. And she's so proud of that, as she should be. But my God, does she bring the missing parts and the actual history, and she's got the guts to tell it. And so I said to Kathy, oh my God, please invite her to be a speaker at Gsic this year. I don't care if she steps on stage with a fag in her hand and a glass of wine in the other, because that's who Roseanne is. She doesn't put on any airs and grace. She couldn't care less who you are. But anyway, she's filming that weekend. But she's like, there's so many brilliant people coming out. And now we're seeing them. We're seeing them for who they really are. You know what I mean? All the bits that were covered up by the veil or the cloaking, or now it's undone, for better or for worse. You know, it's just the most amazing time. And again, thank you for saying yes to speaking at Galactic Spiritual Informers. And the next time we see you, we'll have all or most of the other speakers. We're going to do a round table where we all meet with each other and share with the beautiful audience what we're going to be speaking on. And that's just going to be in a couple of weeks. So thank you so much for coming, friend. And what would your final words be for today to the beautiful people that will see this?
That I love them very, very much, and that my heart goes out to them, and that I wish for them uh, all the excitement that they could probably muster in the life they're living. You know, this is the rarest opportunity when the beings of light, this is the last, and the beings of light, and there were 13 beings of light, there were 12 in front of me, and then a being to the like Jesus and the disciples are 12, you know how important, but 13 was this. And it would designate this being that was talking to me or communicated with me said it was about, and it was literally about envy. It wasn't jealousy, okay, but the nature of envy, that we, heroes and heroines, they made, and I now understand why they made that so important, male and female, yin and yang. Back then, I didn't understand it, you know, because there never was a question about there's two genders, okay? But heroes and heroines, because you come into that dimension to co-create with God. Now you think about that. And they're envious of that, that we were brave enough to come in this to co-create with God. I give you dominion over all you see, to co-create with God. That is power, to know that that's a fact. And it was told to me dead. It was told to me then, Danny. That's where this stuff didn't come in a near-death experience. I didn't fall off my bicycle and bump my head. I got struck by lightning, hit me in the side of the head and went down my spine, threw me in the air, slammed me on the bed, out of body. And because of that, I've been through three more. Okay, I've been through open heart surgery, brain surgery, open heart surgery, and resuscitated two more times in the course of the last 50 years. So I got a grip on healthcare. I got a grip on reality, and I got a grip on the divinity of each of us. I have seen us. I know who we are. And what I'm trying to do is just the same as you, to expose what's not true so we can see the true nature of who we are. Great, powerful, mighty spiritual beings with dignity, direction, and purpose. The only thing that can ever go wrong is you allow something to affect your dignity, which will skew your direction and your purpose. And the biggest thing that you allow to affect your dignity is your opinion of yourself. Everybody, stop and raise the value of yourself equal to that you have come here to co-create with the divine. And it is moving through you from where it is to through you into this earth in what you think and feel and your intentions. Own it, respect it, and show up in Charlotte on September the 19th. Where is it? Where is it being held?
It's at the Le Méridien Conference Hotel, but the rooms, the beautiful discounted rooms, are in the Sheraton. So it's two towers. It is beautiful, refurbished entire complex. So the Sheraton Tower is where we get our rooms and our discounted car park. And then the Le Méridien is where the huge conference area is. It's absolutely stunning. Yeah, so we're so excited. And we'd be so excited to see you there, Dannion Brinkley. Come in with your best friend, Mel Mintor. He's going to be standing on stage and introducing you, and he'll take a few minutes. He said, I'll get myself a few minutes of Danion's presentation time. But
Let's go have it.
I had him on my channel. I don't know, I think 2 weeks ago. And obviously sharing his native Indian, Native American information, him as chief standing eagle, and he got out the beautiful peace pipe for us, the ancient peace pipe, and he's great. He's great. I'm glad he's coming too. It's just a shame.
Oh, please, I wouldn't. I so honor him. You
Mm,
know, Mel has been with me 46 years,
no.
46 years, and some of the situations are nobody has any idea.
Yeah.
But I love that he's now found a footing. I always say that Mel is a hippie that thinks he's an Indian, and so, well, I I'm like this, Danny. I take some things serious, but not very many. If you call me on the phone, my phone says, "Hello, this is Dannion. If this has anything to do with having fun, getting to heaven, or making money, please leave a message. If it doesn't, thank you for calling." Those are the only
Brilliant.
three things. Those are the only three things that of interest to me: having fun, getting to heaven, or making money.
That's brilliant.
So yeah, so it's good. So I will look forward to it. I ask everybody, please feel my love for you and my appreciation that you're here fighting alongside. But we need better tools. We need better tools, and we need to confront the enemy where it is. And the confronting the enemy is where it is taking the blinders off by informing of ourselves of what? Because I've heard of child trafficking, Danny, and all that stuff in the Catholic Church and all of that. But I have myself seen institutional proof that the government of the United States was smuggling children, and the targets were 3 months old to 12 years old. What do you do with a 3-month-old child? What do you do? Okay, so knowing that it's a government planned program, I have to fight it. And I appreciate who's on your list and who's coming to your program because they feel the same way as me.
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
Yes, they do.
teamwork. Thank you
Indeed.
for having me.
You are
I'm
welcome. Thank
sorry
you.
you had to go back to Great Britain. I hope they let Harry come home. And
We shall
and
see.
I'm sorry for Charles.
Mm. Well, Daniel Brinkley, sir, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Love and adore you. So grateful and so bragging you're on my channel. Woohoo! Daniel Brinkley. Yes! Yes! Brag, brag.
Thank you.
Love
Thank
it.
you, Dave.
Oh, thank you so much. And to you guys out there, thank you for watching, and you are welcome. It is indeed Dannion Brinkley on the screen. Do not adjust your channels. Well, he'll be back in a couple of weeks with the rest of our speakers. And of course, get your tickets today to come and see Dannion and others. He said Billy Crystal then. Billy Carson, the great Billy Carson, Kathy O'Brien, Max Lowen, Elena Danan, JP the Army Insider. Will he or will he not take his mask off? Tony Rodriguez, who brought technology back from Mars, from the military base on Mars, all the secrets you ever wanted to know, all the proof, all the government evidence, documents, physical proof, guys, not to mention the identified spacecraft that will fly over the hotel on the 19th of September, or my name is not Dani Henderson. God bless you all. Mwah. Stay strong and stop listening to gossip. Love you guys. See you soon.